Oh man.
I'm on
Yeah.
half a cup of coffee. I
Um.
had two adult beverages last night, and I woke up real slow.
Oh. Yeah, oh yeah, man. We need to continue that conversation. It was definitely. Yes, it was definitely an adult. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking. Okay, I should think
It
before I
wasn't
say
an
these things.
adult evening.
No, 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 no. It was it was people pretending to be adults while enjoying hanging out and kicking it with people. But yes, Aditya nailed it as usual. Sexy top hat. No, seriously, like guys, when I walked in, the only thing I could see from a distance is exactly it's Juan's hat, and I haven't seen this one for quite some time, so it took me
Yeah.
a little bit.
I
But it
don't
was
bring out the pork pies as often as I used to. I've been more flat caps lately. So it was just nice. It was like, oh, I get to play dress up and wear a fancier
Well, so
hat.
you had that one in your I want to say it's in one of your real not your headshots. I think it's one of your main professional ones.
Yeah.
The hat that you had. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I haven't seen you in person with it. I've seen more like if I ever seen like a publicity image or something like that. Whenever they usually use you, I think it was at Sony's, either Sony's or one
Yeah.
of the other events they used it. I've seen it before. So, but it was definitely very nice to see your face and hang out in person,
Same.
just actually hanging out. It wasn't even like you know really work kind of thing. It was just kicking it,
Yeah, I mean,
and
we should jump in. I mean, because I mean, genuinely for a podcast, and everybody, welcome to another
yeah,
episode of
of best of our week.
best of our week, and hopefully we'll get to talk about the best of your week.
Absolutely.
I would say the one of the best things that happened this week, the folks at TCL who
Yep.
now own, you know,
The Chinese theater,
the
well,
Chinese theater,
previously the man's Chinese theater. Yeah.
the man's Chinese theater in Hollywood, finally got sort of like a a little nerd group together to go and catch a movie premiere where we got to see a new Netflix original film and
Yeah.
starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Kirsten Dunst, The Power of the Dog.
Yes.
And it was my first time in a movie theater since before the pandemic, so it was
Peace.
pretty.
Same. It's
There's definitely some anxiety about that.
uh
I'm
it,
becoming very agoraphobic in my little office here, but no, it was a really lovely evening, and we want to throw a thank you and a shout out to the folks at TCL for hooking that
oh,
up because it
absolutely.
was.
Rochelle and Brad was definitely on point, hitting it, and it was an amazing evening. Um, the movie, by the way, is a Netflix special movie, and it is going to be available December 1st on Netflix.
Yes.
So it's not currently available. They're going through their. I guess this was like a premiere. This was the official premiere of the movie. We didn't get a chance to, rub elbows with Benedict Cumberbatch and Kirsten Dunst and.
No, no, nothing like that. I mean,
uh,
yeah, from our we both shared some photos on
yeah, I
Twitter,
was gonna say we were in the
and
vicinity of, but quarter mile
so
away.
but we were also, I mean, the TCL folks have a nice little box. So we were up in a balcony getting to watch the movie. And that actually made me feel strangely much more comfortable not being down with a bunch of people. That sounds so horrifically elitist now that I hear myself saying that. But you can
No,
see
no.
from our photos, we were taking telephoto photos of Benedict Cumberbatch and Kirsten Dunst, and Catherine Hahn was
Oh yeah.
leading a Q&A after the
Dude, that
film.
was epic for her to
Um,
come out and
that
she's
was
like
huge.
totally fangirling on the whole thing. It was like really nice.
It was really fun. But you can
Uh,
also just like it's a bunch of cell phone, so you can see like varying degrees of smartphone telephoto, dark conditions, quality photos,
oh,
just from
dude,
what we were trying to pull off. It was pretty funny.
it was pretty funny. But long story long, that was the reason why we were not able to have our show last night. Which we want to say thank you very much for everybody hanging out with us and kicking it with us and and not being upset. Um, we didn't know 100% if it was going to happen last week. So that's the reason why we couldn't really mention too much of it. There was still things up in the air and some things changing, but lo and behold, we also got a chance to hang out with the YouTube tech guy Ricky. So if you guys
Yeah.
know Ricky, Ricky's really nice. And Brian Tong also, I think Brian's in
Hmm.
from Engadget now, so right. Yeah, no, he's
I
yeah.
think so. I
Yeah,
mean, I follow Brian, so I don't
I don't
know where
follow.
he ends up. I just,
Yeah,
oh, hey,
it's
Brian's doing something. I'll watch what he has to say.
that's usually how, yeah, that's usually how it is. And he's usually pretty good about movies. I see him a lot. Like I think when they were doing I think some of the Marvel stuff, he got a whole bunch of
Yeah.
stuff there. So, but yeah, it was tons of fun. We got a chance to come out, hang out with some friends, and just enjoy it. We were hanging out for literally up to like maybe 5 or 7 hours ago. So
Hmm.
we got home, crashed, woke up early, and then of course wanted to kind of bring back the week and talk a little bit more about some of the main things going on. I see we have we have Dan, we have Andrew's in there, Mark is in there, Aditya, David Burns in there, Vasicos is in there, Barry Johnson's in there, of course. Oh man, everybody's hanging out with us and kicking it, and I'm
Got a good
enjoying the
crew
new
right now.
feature, this new feature within StreamYard, the ability of co-hosting. So
Yeah.
Juan and I now can actually both interact in the ecosphere of how things are in here, as opposed to just I have to kind of go find the comments, so he can bring up comments and so on. So it's
Yeah.
it's 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 a nice little update.
It's
I'll say
nice.
this.
So
It gets updated
you
once in a while.
don't have to like drive the whole boat.
Well,
I can
well.
kind of like.
Plus, if ever I am running very, very late, Juan can be like, "Okay, we're doing it live." Well, he'll catch up.
Well, that's also part of the funny is like we said last night, like, hey, when do you want to go? I was like, like 8-ish. Why don't we try 8? And he was like, okay, cool. And he set it for 8:30. And in my brain, I was like, oh, we're gonna go at 8. So I get the camera set up at 8, and you're like, oh, where's TK?
And he's calling me. He's like, "Hey,
Where'd he
what's up,
go?
bro? Yeah, are we doing?"
Are we doing this? And then he was like, yeah, at 8:30. And you're like, oh, I lack reading comprehension skills, and it's fine.
We said 8-ish, and I wasn't, since I couldn't confirm with him, and I wasn't gonna bug him early enough in the morning. I assumed 8:30, and if we were gonna go earlier, but yeah, it
It's
was
all good. We
definitely
finally made it here.
we
So
we made it. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about some of the other things going on. You put out a couple of videos this week. I'm still working
yeah.
on my Pixel 6 that I'm going to be working on today.
Oh, do we want to jump right in on Pixel 6? Because this is the most dramatic, like, divisive, severing
This week has
techie
been
friendships.
crazy. Like seriously, some of the conversations on Twitter over Pixel stuff has gone like,
Oh,
why? Yeah, like but why? Why would it have to be into that level? Like people start kind of like making into an issue. People can have different
so
experiences with the same thing.
one of my main talking points, and I don't want to soapbox too much because like I I feel like that's what my Monday morning podcast is all about, is for me to rant and soapbox. But
Make sure you check out the
I think
SGGQA at Monday at 9.
on Monday,
That was a
hopefully I'll
shameless
be
plug right there. Right?
better rested and not as alcoholed the night before. The I think there is a flavor or a trend. At the beginning of the year, we lost to LG. We
Yeah.
started getting really hyped for other competition, and at the same time, there's a much smaller group of smartphone and tech enthusiasts that I feel are now becoming kind of radicalized on some of the trends that we see from algorithmic sorting of data and how people monetize their channels and the way that this
Mhm.
can influence commentary. And so now we're starting to see, because it's not, I mean, a lot of people like to point to me for some of this drama, but I think it's spreading in a way where we're starting to call out what we find as troubling trends, and then people start to take that personally because you're saying like, hey, I think you maybe didn't do your due diligence. Well, you're now questioning my
Methodology, yeah, or
authenticity and my
authenticity.
method, and you're like, well, yes, but there's a reason. And I think this is getting kind of wrapped up in some of that emotion where smaller communities of tech enthusiasts have been punched down on for a really long time.
Mhm.
And whenever something just gets a glimmer of coverage that's not overwhelmingly negative from the majority of larger tech channels, they start to invest in that. You start to take that emotionally. You start to kind of build on that. So we started seeing all this hype for Pixel 6, and my fear, and we talked about this before the phone launched, my fear is this getting built up just so certain channels can tear it back down? And I don't think it's that cut and dry. I don't think it's that black and white, but
Mhm.
we start seeing some of that trend. You're like reviewing the phone for not what Google's claiming it can do, ignoring massive features on a Pixel 6 that make it different than another phone. Really talking up software, but then completely disregarding all of the software differences that make a Pixel unique. Well, good
Yep.
software matters. That's why I like Samsung. And you're like, well, but you have to understand how that's going to come across to people as kind of an unfair metric. You
Mm-hmm.
moved these goalposts to prioritize one company. So I kind of get it. We're trying to have these conversations about something that should be different. A Pixel should be different, and
Yep.
so we've got to be we've got to be consistent in our methodology, but then also express what is it that we're really concerned about. And I think it's completely fair. Like I was watching Grounded Tech's video this
Yeah.
morning
No. Yeah. I was watching
talking
his
about
video too.
Pixel 6 issues. Grounded Tech's in the chat right now.
Okay.
And I think it's completely fair. I think it's critical. I think it's necessary to bring up, hey man, I think there are some software issues going on with the Pixel 6 right now. I need that exact same energy on the next iPhone launch. The next flavor of iOS that comes out, if it's not 100% completely bug-free, because Apple is the best at keeping a vertical ecosystem of software and hardware, I
Mm-hmm.
need that same FUD. Oh no, I don't even know who an iPhone is anymore. They slightly changed the UI. Oh no, there's some funky gremlins with some of the battery life and radio management. I think if someone bought an iPhone week one and then used the phone, they'd return it. They'd
Right.
return
Yeah.
it if it was in that state.
It would be
And
hot
and so
garbage. Yep.
so that's kind of where I feel a lot of this ire is coming from. I think there's a smaller community of people that want to tell stories and they want to share some of their gadget enthusiasm, and increasingly they feel pushed out because you don't make money on YouTube by catering to niche or smaller pocket communities.
Yeah.
And it
It's a tough one.
feels like bullying when you're a fan of a significantly less popular product and you're just trying to find the other people that also like that gadget.
It's a very
I'll shut up now.
no. I mean, it's a tough position to be in it to start with in the first place. First and foremost, I will say this: kudos to Dan for having you and I in the background with the live stream from last week while he
Yeah,
was doing his video. That was epic.
I was gonna say
thank you.
I
It was not
I
paid, but your
question
check will be in the mail.
I question the
authenticity.
quality of the content you view.
No. I mean, you and I were like arguing. We were like laughing, talking, and a whole bunch of things. I'm not sure which episode it was, but thank you.
So
Thank
now,
you for
now,
hitting.
now I gotta try and like pop them up in the background of one of my
Yeah,
videos.
we
Like,
gotta- we
instead
gotta
of
put
using
the
the
video-
Last Starfighter like I did with one of mine, it'll be
Yeah.
Grounded Tech.
No, but I mean, so he brought up a lot of good points, and it is
Yeah.
very different into. Don't get me wrong. One person shouldn't be able to paint the picture about a device, regardless of where that experience comes from. I think the valid point that he made, he said, we don't know exactly what MKBHD was doing on his phone for him to have only 3 hours of screen on time. I don't know how he did, because I'm getting like 7 hours plus. Ricky yesterday was telling me he got 9 hours. I'm like, the usage and how you use your device
Yeah.
and what network you're on and how you're connected and all of those things play a massive factor into your experience on a smartphone. I'm not saying
So
it's
let me
Sorry.
contribute to that because I feel like and I'm sorry, I know I'm a little foggy and a little rambly. I would say battery life on a Pixel 6 hasn't been stellar for me, but
Yeah.
I do a ton screen off. So especially like for example, I think yesterday,
Standby
and
battery
especially
you're talking about, yeah. In your video,
well,
you
not
talked
to,
about the standby battery, yeah.
and not just standby. So standby has actually gotten a little bit better, but
Mm-hmm.
I think there's still something with the way that I've got notifications and alerts and everything all set up, or if it's connected to my smartwatch, it's different. I mean, there's so many variables. Battery testing is such a pain, and I hate it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I finally clicked. I've stopped listening to as much music stored on my devices, and I've signed up for Qobuz.
Yeah.
But I don't go economical on my data use with Qobuz. I
go full
go
quality.
CD quality at least on
Yeah.
Qobuz. And like yesterday, I didn't plug in my phone when I was doing turn by turn to get to the Chinese theater, and I
Mhm.
racked up 3 hours of Qobuz streaming CD quality or higher, and then I'm shocked. Like, well, wait a minute, why did my battery? Why was I like tanking at the end of the night where usually I've got some padding and I can kind of make it overnight without a reach? Oh, of course. And so I'm going back through some of my older screenshots and stuff, and like I've got podcasting and Qobuz running all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why I'm only getting like 4.5 to 5 hours of screen on time a day, is because I'm hitting this phone as hard as I can, screen off,
Yeah.
and streaming, super high quality audio as opposed to storing it locally. And those
Mhm.
kinds of things are now kicking into the radio use. So I mean, again, it's not hard to demonstrate a newer SoC, high performance, not properly optimized Android 12 needs some bug fixes, and to get a day of crappy battery life. Um, the reason why I've given up trying to really dig into consistent battery testing is because you have no consistent day. You
No.
have no consistent use, and you've got to try and get a feel for a trend of battery life over a really long period of time.
Absolutely, and understand how the battery performs on this device, and that you can anticipate. Because when you live with the phone is when you start realizing, like you said, you run a few hours of streaming music at high quality in the car when you're traveling. You're jumping towers, you're changing different experiences, but you're still streaming much higher frequency. Your bandwidth is being driven, even if the phone screen
Yeah,
is off. A big thing that also a lot of people, dude, hey, Josh, hey, man, surprise,
yeah.
surprise. Good
Good
morning,
morning,
Mr.
Josh.
Vergara. Hope you're doing well, man. Yeah, it's one of those weird situations. Like I said, that depends on the usage of you doing and depending what you're doing at that day. Also, if you're running it on Wi-Fi most of the time, that also changes the experience as well, because Wi-Fi is more consistent. You're not having, your modem isn't having to kind of seek and try to jump between 4G to 5G. You're more consistent. Your battery will last a little bit longer as well.
Hmm.
What my concern, what my surprise is the, I guess it's just that when he made the statement of 3 hours, it, to my understanding, when somebody says there's a number, it should be something that is measured over time, not just the last day of usage that you had. So
Sure.
my only thing I would say is maybe he is using the modem heavily. Maybe he is listening to a lot of podcasts and music. We don't know how his usage
Or
is,
I and again, it's
but it. I'm just
giving
saying it.
giving someone at
Yeah.
his tier the benefit of the doubt. And again, this is what I feel why there's so much emotional ire is a bunch of smaller creators, a bunch of smaller enthusiasts, not
Hmm.
you know what I mean, smaller
Yeah. Yeah.
communities of enthusiasts are now have to play this game where we're deferential to someone at like the top of the like we have to say things. Well, to be fair to what his experiences might have been, and no one seems to ever flip for for as much posturing as we talk about, like average consumers and trying to make sure people buy the gadget that you like,
Hmm.
but we don't really mean it. We want you to buy something popular, but buy, if you want to use garbage, you can use garbage, I guess, if that's
It
what you
it.
like.
Um,
It always feels unidirectional. And
Oh,
so
you,
instead
you
of
should watch his Sony Xperia Pro I video. That if you want to see a directional conversation, yeah, um, giving
I
it a
don't,
compliment and a
but no,
backslap at the same statement is like very interesting to look to.
it's whiplash inducing. And the same thing,
It
what was,
very like I watched the video. I'm like, okay, so do you like it or do you? What was
and, and this is the other thing to get across is like,
Yeah.
I have to work a lot in my comments for my videos. Someone will come and you can tell, like, I put out my Duo 2 video
Mhm.
and there are a lot of little snarky bits in there, but you can see when a Duo 2 or a Duo fan or a Surface fan in general leaves a comment, um, it's always this kind of surprise or refreshing. Like, I wasn't expecting this. Someone actually tried to use it. Hey, look, he's pointing out some of the issues I had with it, but he
Yeah.
still likes it. And they always kind of come to this like, I'm so happy I finally found an unbiased review. And it's like I need to jump on it immediately. Like, oh no, I'm I'm just trying to be honest about what my biases are. I'm just trying to be honest about what my preferences are and why I like these things over these other things, so that you can understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel has been lost at some of these larger average consumer reviewer tiers,
Mm-hmm.
is what do you do on your gadgets and what do you like? Because then I'd be able to wait. Like, hey, this content creator just genuinely doesn't like digging in to all the camera stuff on a phone because he shoots on really fancy studio grade equipment. Totally
Mm-hmm.
makes sense to me. I would not weight anything that person has to say about cameras very heavily. Oh, this person doesn't game on a phone. I know where to put his review of a gaming phone. If he's not really playing games on mobile, I have and it we would all be a lot happier, I feel,
Mm-hmm.
if that was just part of it up front. Like the main turn that John Redinger took was so much healthier for his channel. And I
Yeah.
know exactly where John's coming from, and I know exactly what John likes, and I love the storytelling quality of it because it's so much more personal than it
Yeah.
used to be. His channel became so much more valuable to me because I get his perspective, and it's okay to demonstrate a bias
Yeah.
if you're being honest and consistent about what it is that you're there to offer. If you're trying to tell people, you're a fair and even-handed reviewer, but your reviews always skew to one demographic of viewers, then that's cable news. That's not fair and balanced.
That's the seven
It's
o'clock. Yeah. Text. Yeah. No, I'm with you. It is a very. I mean, so don't get me wrong. His I don't want to make it. I don't want to make it like about it's a one person, but just as an approach, Sony Pixels right now are very much a what's wrong with this what's wrong with this story. You hype it up, you're very excited, and then suddenly we start getting all these commentary. No phone is perfect. We should start the conversation by saying this. There is no perfect phone. Even the iPhone, even the Samsung, whatever, insert Samsung model number, whatever, even the best phone from any company that's released, it's a set of tailored experiences that are put together with a certain set of hardware and software that is intended to be what they're offering for this year. That's pretty much a rough estimation of what you get from a phone. And whatever your personal experience is, what your needs are, start impacting that once you start putting your hands on a phone like that. So, a Galaxy may work for most people, but I can tell you this. I mean, at the beginning of the year, some of my biggest concerns with them is the compromises that they did on that device. But nobody talked about that because to them, the S21 Ultra was the best thing since sliced bread. Same thing with the iPhone 13 Pro Max. You hear so much more videos reinforcing the idea of why, yes, it's a great thing to buy the iPhone 13 Pro. But don't get me wrong. There are certain experiences, certain things that may not work for everybody. The goal of the channel, or at least the way I feel like we're both trying to approach the review process is let the tech speak for itself. We share our experiences of what we did and what we went through, and the experiences should be reflected. And you need to explain them that this is how I experienced the tech. Dan's video was perfectly fine where he said, "Look, somebody may have it may be a massively big issue for them that YouTube Studio is crashing on your Pixel 6 Pro or on your Pixel 6, but understand that that's an Android 12 issue, not a Pixel issue." And the
so
same day, he put out a tweet saying, they updated YouTube Studio and it works better. I wasn't having a problem on my YouTube Studio, so mine wasn't crashing.
no,
Which
mine
is
was crashing all the time. Hold on, I just got to see if I have updated.
yeah,
No,
he
I
posted.
mean, I didn't mean to like.
No,
shut
no,
you
no,
down
no.
there.
Yeah.
Was
So,
just
but
gonna-
some people were having issues, and like I said, it changes the approach of how you see it. But at the end of the day, is it a deal breaker? Is it something that you basically will make you say, okay, well, this phone is hot garbage or something like that? I
So
don't really feel like.
getting off of I'm purposely kind of directing you here because I
Okay.
feel another thing is we're watching sort of a contraction of tech YouTube, where now the entertainment value of tech YouTube is the drama surrounding tech YouTube, which makes a pocket community even a little more insular and toxic. And
Yeah.
so now we're kind of stuck in this and again, it's with good reason. The reason why TK and I talk so much about these things and the way that we live with gadgets is because it's a nice idea to tell your favorite content creator, well, don't worry about the haters, or don't worry about all these other reviewers. Don't let them live in your head rent free. All these things that we say to try and make someone feel better. But the reality is, if TK and I just come out with a video saying, hey, these are my experiences on the Pixel 6, this is us focusing on the positive, we're not picking apart some of these other review trends, all of that data is called into question. you
Yep.
cannot escape all of the comments of, well, such and such big YouTuber said that the battery life was garbage. Well, such and such big YouTuber said that the camera was completely unchanged from a smaller sensor pixel. Well, such and such big YouTuber said this, and such big YouTuber said that, because we've gotten to a point in punditry where tech reviewing has been distilled down to this lowest common denominator of GSM Arena. I memorize the specs, and now I
Yep.
just complain about the price, and that's about all I need to do to accomplish a review. I don't even need to use the gadget. And so to redirect some of that energy, and it's something that I go through cycles. Like, we talked about this before on the podcast. Like, I can tell when I'm getting mean and I'm not just having fun with some of the snark. Like, it
Hmm.
weighs on you. And
Oh
there's
yeah.
no way to escape it if your main goal isn't, I need the most YouTube views. It's, I want to have the fun conversations. The whole point of my channel is not to be the most successful on YouTube. Obviously, I don't know how I could make that any clearer, that
No, no,
I
no.
am actively trying to do everything that the YouTube algorithm tells me, not what to do.
Not to do. Yeah, they're like pointing you left, you're going right. No, I get it. I
My
get it.
my YouTube creator panel is all red down arrows. I mean, it
It's
is clear they don't like the trend that I'm
you should
heading.
never, yeah, you should never as a creator, if you are trying to be a creator, just don't look at the trend. The trend is absolutely, it's like measuring yourself against yourself, and like, as exactly what Josh has said. His problem with YouTube Studio for many years now, it just doesn't pay him enough.
Yeah.
Um, I I'm
To
with you
get
on
back
that one.
to get back to where you were going though, and to get back
Yeah,
to
yeah.
what you were saying there, it's the I do want us to find these opportunities where we can just geek out. It's upsetting that we kind of have to front load so many of our conversations to say, like, you have come to my video likely after having watched another reviewer. And
There's a very
based
good
on
chance.
these
Yeah.
trends, there's a very good chance you're already primed for this kind of a conversation. And you're about to be shocked because I had some similar but some different
Yeah.
experiences. And now we've got to untangle this mess. And there's no way to do that gracefully. You can't do that by only being smiley, happy, smaller YouTuber. I'm just so glad I get to participate. You have to engage in some conflict to undo some of that process, or to explain why certain reviews trend in a certain direction, or why certain testing
I
works
know.
in a certain
Yeah.
direction,
Yeah.
and why
It's
this is going to be different. But it doesn't mean that we can't have a reasonable conversation about it.
yeah.
And so it just cracks me up, because I know I have a reputation, across the internet, and I'm not too bothered by it. But I still get those comments like, well, Juan needs to understand that not everyone thinks like him. And you're like, Juan's main point is that there should be more coverage of phones for smaller communities of people. I've What you're saying is there shouldn't be? Like, all smaller phone communities should die and there should only be Sam Apple? Is that
They-
what we're trying to accomplish?
There
Because I
should
don't
be
think that's what you
two.
mean.
There should be two videos dropped every time a new phone comes out, and it is basically the biggest YouTubers on the market, Lou to unbox it, and MKBHD to give us his point of view on it. And I think that's pretty much what we need, right? Everybody else could just take a vacation. It's the
Well,
holiday. No,
So
I mean,
I wanna get back, because
yeah.
TK and I rolled up to a TCL event with a Pixel 6 and a TCL 20 in tow.
20 Pro. Yeah.
Look, so
should-
putting
we're
those
rocking.
two phones side by side, TK, climactic showdown. Who won? Who's the winner? TCL 20 Pro or Pixel 6 Pro? Ready, go.
So overall, I think for close-up shots, it wasn't as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. The low light
really
performance was
wasn't.
actually not. When it came to telephoto, though, when you start seeing some of those pictures that we were dropping, that was very much the 6 Pro flexing its muscle. It's just because it has the reach.
I couldn't reach the stage with the 20 Pro.
Oh,
the
so
TCL.
you can, but it's there was not enough light, and there was not enough. The camera wasn't designed. The camera sensors that they have wasn't really designed to work at that distance. This is where literally, if it could be a small and easy conversation to be said of this. Should you go for the 6 or the 6 Pro? If you're ever going to be sitting in a VIP box that is so far away, and you want to be able to see Benedict Cumberbatch and Kirsten Dunst sitting on a stage and make sure that you see what it is. I think overall the experience between the two, it's very nice to see TCL, putting out devices. The 20
Mhm.
Pro is definitely, 5G worked perfectly great for it. The cameras, like I said, as using the front facing or even the rear facing
So we
in
had the
close up
opportunity
was,
before the movie just to
yeah,
get like, yeah, we hit
we took some
a
pictures.
little hotel bar and got some appetizers.
Yeah.
But we could get some real food before I just shoveled
Juan
it
took
in.
took posted the pictures of the appetizers. The I think was it the tuna poke and
I, yeah, it was
and
the
then
tuna poke and the flatbread
go,
with the goat
the flatbread with
cheese
the
and the mushrooms.
gorgonzola
There
or goat
were no
cheese.
pictures of the onion rings because I went hog on the onion rings.
You should have seen
All
the
of those photos were from the 20 Pro in that
yeah.
kind of darker hotel bar area kind of lighting. So again, it's one of the most exciting aspects of mobile devices right now. I mean, the 20 Pro is like a premium mid-ranger. It's competing in a literally in a
Speaking
mid-pack
of which, yeah, if we're gonna start
pricing.
showing colors, yeah, I do
Well,
have to.
you've got the color. I've got the regular gray version of the 20
Hey,
Pro.
Sony is nope. Sony
Oh,
is
that auto exposure too. Oh,
right.
it's very
Yeah, no,
reflective
it's
though.
better. It's very reflective. That's why
There it goes.
the moment the reflection hits it the other way, Sony's like, no, I'm not looking at this. So yeah, we got the color there.
So
Okay, here we
it
are.
was nice to kind of put this into kind of a practical situation where these photos would matter, and the photos came out looking great. I would say the Pixel 6 photos were better, but
Oh,
this is one of the
yeah.
most, sorry, just to wrap up this one last thought. This is one of the most exciting aspects of smartphone design right now, where 5 years ago, if
So yeah,
my aunt
that's the
or if
Poke.
my cousin walked out of a low cost carrier with some brand of a TCL or some kind of cheap phone, we all would have like gasped through our teeth. Oh, why did you get that phone? And now I'm getting down into like $200 phones. Like we're gonna talk about POCO coming up here soon.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
We've been playing with the Infinix, as international labels go,
Yep, yep.
and there is really no terrible phone that's actually making it to market that if someone were to buy it, they
Couldn't
wouldn't
be this.
reasonably be able to achieve all of their daily driver smartphone computing needs and still have some room for some fun stuff, video streaming,
Yep.
respectable cameras, even if they aren't the bestest, and rocking the 20 Pro again for the first time in a couple months. It was really refreshing to see, hey, if my uncle picked this phone up just because he needed something cheap while signing a new contract, he would be well covered. I
Oh,
don't know that
absolutely.
he would be bothered by having a 60 hertz refresh rate display, but he goes and takes a picture of him and his wife indoors at a restaurant. Like those photos look banger. I mean, they looked great.
Yep.
That's exactly what his use for something like this would have been. I think he would really appreciate this, and also knowing that it's a little bit cheaper than
It's
getting like
friendlier.
a
It's
base model
friendlier on the
Samsung.
pocket, and the design on this on the 20 Pro is also very much the way they did it with the first one. It looks. It's punching higher than its own price tier for the quality of the design, the glass, the curved edges, the flat sensors on the back. There's a very much a little bit of an LG feel to it because of the way the teardrops are on
Oh,
the back on the left.
oh yeah,
You're totally
it's
yeah.
definitely like reminiscent of like a velvet.
A
Yeah, for
absolutely. I
sure.
was about to say, yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, same here. Kind of like I got it updated. I was rocked in there. 5G was working beautifully. Everything like it handled everything the way I was expecting it to handle, and the overall experience is still very nice. I had to install I think one update that came up that apparently in the last couple of months. So
You
for
got the
sure,
big 1 gig update, right?
yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
that
So
was the one.
I did get that one. I did update it before. It was last month, so I
Okay.
caught it. I don't know if it was launched last month, but I did update it last month. Again, I I want us to find those opportunities where the spectrum of devices that are currently out right now, the problem isn't whether or not you're going to get a gooder phone or a badder phone. I genuinely believe the problem is choice.
Hmm.
Because for as much as I dig on this TCL, and what I hope, like for example, last night, we all kind of know what the gig is, right?
Yeah.
We've been friends with some of these PR representatives for years. Like
Oh
I've
yeah.
known Brad since before he worked PR
Yeah, I
for
didn't realize.
companies.
Yeah, I learned that was something new yesterday. I learned a little bit more about Brad, but yeah, I've known
Brad
him. Yeah,
Brad is a good dude. We've known him and worked with him for a really long time. So we
yep.
understand, like you've got a Team Pixel. TCL is trying to do something more engaging with content creators and developers and building up some kind of name recognition around their other gadgets and accessories because they're
hmm
doing killer on TVs right now. We know
Amazingly,
what
amazingly well. Yes.
we know what that is. I feel like the challenge isn't does a company put out a good phone? The big challenge now is can that company demonstrate some excitement over their product to get consumers interested? And
Yeah.
so, for as much as I love this TCL, I think this is a chance for us to kind of transition into the POCO.
Yep.
I think that's one of the areas that Xiaomi has been doing really well in is specifying the messaging to very, very granular consumers.
Very.
You
Yeah.
know what a black shark is.
You
You
know exactly.
know what a POCO is. And I miss the Mi branding as being sort of a separate, kind of category. Now it's just Xiaomi.
Xiaomi. I was gonna
Um,
say.
but the Mi branding was a very specific
hmm
kind of conversation. And getting into the POCO M4, what have your experiences been? Because you have used way more of the lower cost POCOs than I
I
have. I jumped from the original to the M4.
Well, yeah,
I
no, no,
missed
no,
everything in between.
and you got the new color on the F3, which is really, really nice. I was trying to, yeah, they reached out to me as well about it. So I still have my other F3. It wasn't a really big.
Where did I
To me,
put them?
I love the fact of what Poco's doing with the capabilities that they're providing and the price point that they're offering right now. So yeah, so yeah. Speaking of it, I think we got different colors. I got the green one this time, which is again.
Always get the fancy colors.
Well, so I reached out. So,
I get
so I,
gray.
I always look at it because this is all the whole thing started with Issa, by the way. Issa told me that apparently when they reach out, she
You're right,
reaches
you're right.
back and she tells them, "Can you send me the really nice looking color?" So I haven't been going back with the "Can you send me the pretty color?" I just go back and say, "Can you just send me something that is not the black one?" Nothing against that one. It's just from a visual point when you're creating thumbnails and so on. Some of their designs, especially with Poco, they like to do the very like the camera bump, the design, the colors that come back in the back. I mean, it's a plastic bag. Don't get me wrong. We're not talking like glass, but I looked at some of the colors that they had in there, and they were. I mean, luckily they were able to help me, and they sent me a nice one. And I would have been perfectly fine, by the way, if they sent me the same color as yours. My thing at the end of the day was I just felt like why not ask? And even though they said no. Yeah, see that's the brand new color on the F3. So I don't have that one, but it looks amazingly nice. You could see Poco's focus, or at least what sorry, well, Poco is a separate part, but Poco's approach to smartphones is bang for the buck. That they're really embodying that flagship killer conversation. I wouldn't necessarily use flagship killer on this. I definitely think this is an amazing budget phone at about 250 euros if you buy the fully maxed out
Yeah.
version, or even 220. You're getting a lot of performance for what you would want to use a device at that price point. You're getting that performance to bang for the buck. How much you're paying and what you're getting is definitely more. And Poco still always delivers there. You get stereo speakers, you get 90 hertz, you get large display, 5,000 milliampere, 33-watt charging. It's not going to be the best gaming phone, and I said that in the video, but it plays games very well. I
Yeah.
mean, just don't expect 120 hertz or 90 hertz on PUBG. I'm sorry, on Call of Duty. But just again, the experience that you're getting there with the, especially with the Dimensity 810, this is the other thing. MediaTek has been making a very big stride with a lot of the Asian smartphone manufacturers now, especially with their more mid-range and price point. The Dimensity chipsets are to be reckoned with.
So good.
I can't
Yeah.
wait to see what MediaTek has to do for 2022 when it comes down to, what's the next marker, because they're getting very close, and I like that they are able to provide us options that are more economical. People are able to buy these devices. Reno's been using them. Oppo's been jumping on. Xiaomi's been using them as well. We know OnePlus used them as well for the Nord 2 with the MediaTek Dimensity 1200. So I'm really liking the fact that we're getting competition. And, we're almost at that point where we're going to find out more about their next chipset. But what I was trying to kind of bring back is Poco's known for that. And Poco delivers. So when you pick up a Poco, like you said, you know exactly what Xiaomi's trying to do or what Poco's trying to do. It's a bang for the buck. really
So
nice.
I want to circle back to something because I think it's one of the again, I'm using a word like refreshing. I think
Hmm.
it's one of the more refreshing aspects of the POCO is that I think they are leaning into flagship killer
Hmm.
without all of the toxic baggage of labeling exactly the words flagship killer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't think of a more successful example of a phone branding everything you need, nothing you don't.
Nothing you
That's
don't.
literally the label on the side of the box. It is so clear, it is so direct. You know this phone has compromises. You're not going to care because it does XYZ at a low price, right?
Yep.
We get these bargain comments, and it was the early days of OnePlus really turned me off to OnePlus. I did not like this hipster edgelord flagship killer vibe that they put out there. Smash your old phone and you'll be in the lottery to get a
Yeah,
new OnePlus. All of
the
that early OnePlus
the
baggage.
invite system. Sorry, just to kind of bring it in right there. So
It's pretty.
no, but that they deliver though. Every time they release, Poco delivers. Black Sharp deliver. They're building on. They know that people like to see devices that look really nice and that perform well, and they're doing it really at that price point. Like I said, so I just the flagship killer is just a title. I think a lot of people like to throw it around, but at the end of the day, you would not be disappointed going
Yeah.
into it, knowing how much money you paid for it. You definitely will not be disappointed, and it does perform quite well for what it offers us. I wish they had a
Yes.
little bit better support for connectivity in the U.S. That would have been my only thing. I could only get it to connect on AT&T. T-Mobile for me was just not having it here.
So
I think
couldn't
the
get it to
band.
connect to anything but like the T-Mobile tower that's like right
Well,
across the
so
street from
yeah,
us.
so you
So
have some, yeah, you have, yeah,
exact opposite bands and support from what you were
absolutely.
dealing with.
But I typically do. I mean, most of the time I'm able to pick up at least HSPA Plus or something like that on T-Mobile. But yeah, this time it was a strict AT&T conversation. But for me, it was definitely very nice. Oh my god! And the 2000 just been released yesterday in 4 nanometers. It's very like I mean, tech needs to fit what you need. And like I said, Poco's been
Yes.
definitely
So
delivering on it. So
so
that's what you
fit,
need.
fitting what you need, and
Yep.
this is kind of why I want to bring this back, and I'm so glad you kind of mentioned TCL in this space too.
Yep.
I've been playing with the TCL 20 Pro. We took it out for a spin last night.
Yep.
The TCL 20 and TCL 20 SE, and
Oh
when you
yeah.
look at those three phones from TCL, my problem isn't are there better phones or worser phones than these three from TCL? My problem is kind of sorry, I'm trying to put a lot of philosophy into this as easy as possible.
You do that,
I
and then I'm going to
know,
show the 20L and the SE.
yes, but I know I now have a better handle. Poco, Black Shark, Xiaomi. I get what I'm sort of in for. TCL 20, TCL 20 SE, TCL 20 Pro. I'm not exactly sure where I should be throwing my money. And it's an issue of labeling and branding and messaging that
Hmm.
helps communicate to a potential consumer what may or may not be a good fit for them. And I mean, like, let's be frank, every phone can look good in a press photo or in some sort of mock-up or render. The
Renders
TCL
always,
20
yeah.
Pro looks so much prettier in real life than it might from a white background fancy web page that every phone looks good from. I think it's the same problem that the
Positioned at the
Velvet
angle.
had.
Yeah.
The Velvet looks like any other kind of upper price mid-range phone. I mean, last year it looked like every kind of mid-range phone, and we really put it in your hands. Like, this was a really nicely constructed phone.
Way more premium feeling than what you see in the pictures.
Sure.
Yeah, it's something to live with, something to try a device, and like I said, that's one of the reasons I think a lot of people look for why they want to see other people's perspective. But these devices definitely hit above their price point. That's a
They
big
do,
driving
but
point.
I'm picking up a POCO F3, and I've
Mm-hmm.
got my TCL 20 Pro,
Mm-hmm.
and there are numerous pros and cons and differences. But this to me kind of feels like the conversation we would have had last year about a Galaxy A70
Mm-hmm.
and an LG Velvet. Like, if you see these two on paper on a web page and you're just breaking down specs, The F3 seems like an obvious foregone conclusion. It's got the 870, it's more powerful. It's probably going to get a little more regular software polish because of the way that Xiaomi updates MIUI.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you really hold the 20 Pro in your hand, it's better built. It's more
Mm-hmm.
nicely built. They both have, some individual features and stuff, but you've
Yep.
got the IR blaster and the headphone jack ready to go on the TCL 20 Pro. And,
Yep.
and this to me becomes one of the grand fallacies of how we can kind of casually abbreviate the review process is I like these phones for very different reasons, and they're both kind of playing in a similar bracket of price for general consumers out there.
Mm-hmm.
But they're accomplishing it in very different ways. And that nuance would matter. If someone wanted a TCL 20 experience and they picked up a POCO F3 because it's to more powerfuls, they wouldn't probably appreciate the F3. They would probably be disappointed in that.
It is like you said. It's when you think POCO and you think TCL, and you kind of brought it back when you were explaining like how do you know which TCL, which is the right TCL device to pick up, because they do have a trio. They had it last year and they continued it this year. The big difference though this year is that the TCL 5G was not somewhat of a better processor than the TCL 10 Pro, which I think last year was a little bit of difference. TCL
Well,
has
the 10
definitely
Pro was like a
yeah 630 or
660, I think.
yeah, and then when you
Easy
jumped
for
over,
me to say.
well, no, but I'm saying is like last year's the 5G had the 765, which because you needed
Yeah.
a 5G modem, and it's more of a Qualcomm kind of which chipset to use. The devices that they have right now are very, like, you could tell the premium between the three. You can also tell which one is the mid tier and which one is lower from just the build quality. But at the end of the day, where TCL is right now, where they're trying to separate themselves from the Alcatel branding, because that's
Yeah.
to a certain point, TCL was sold as Alcatel in the US for the longest time. And
Oh, yeah.
Alcatel didn't go away. Alcatel is still technically a brand that they're
Mhm.
still kind of, it's the whole subsidiary
They're still
kind of thing
making
going.
for it.
Yeah, yeah,
They're an
absolutely.
OEM.
The Go
Yeah.
Flip 4, we just covered it on the channel, and Omar's rocking that one as his daily driver now. So to me, no, I made sure to tell them yesterday. I said thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I love the fact, and I even mentioned it in my review. This is going to be my son's first phone, and it not
That's
only
rad.
meets but exceeds his expectations because of what that device can do. And I was joking about it yesterday. I said it's like you got to learn how to drive stick shift before you drive an automatic if you're going to get a license. And I told him I needed my son to go through T9 before he goes into, on-screen keyboards for the rest of his life, and then speech to text. I want that skill set in his brains so that he
It's
at
like,
least starts the same way I did. You
I'm
know what I
making
mean?
my daughter learn how to play Mario Kart on a Super Nintendo Mini. I
Yeah,
feel you. I
they're
feel you.
yeah
It's
no,
a
no,
history that's got to be respected.
absolutely, and you have to do it in the right order, because if you just jump straight into smartphones,
Right.
yeah, then they're like T what 9, like so. Uh, to me, at least right now, TCL is on the right path. They're moving in
Oh,
the
yeah.
right direction. We saw some teasers earlier in the year.
Yes.
I'm still excited to see some of the stuff that they showed us with the foldables,
Yeah,
because they were
they've
the
got
only
the,
ones that were very close to what LG was showing us. Remember? I mean, they
for
showed a
sure.
couple, but that rollable option that hopefully maybe CES 2022, we're going to see some stuff from them. But last night, hanging out with them, going to the theater, checking out the movie, and just having a nice little chill weekday night was so the vibe I've been trying to get for some time, just to get out of the
Yeah.
house, relax a little bit. Nothing against the fam. I love my family and everything, obviously, as you guys know. But it is
I'm pretty
nice
sure
to
my
be able
family's sick of me, so I think they were happy I got out of the house for a night.
to.
But just
Yeah, yeah.
just to put a button on one of your last points right there,
Sure. Yeah, the T9.
we know when you pick up a TCL 20, 20 SE, and 20 Pro, we can feel out and communicate what those differences are.
Yeah.
I think more of that conversation needs to be led from the manufacturer. So
Yeah.
again, this is not a slight on any of the phones. This isn't to say like, ooh, buyer beware, is there FUD about getting what you pay for? You will. I think it's that one little bit harder for a consumer to look through a brand like Motorola. I think is suffering kind of the same thing. Is it a Moto? Is it an Edge? Is it an Ace? Is it a 5G? Is it an E? Is it a G? What happened with all of these different flavors of Motorola? now it's so much more difficult to communicate which moto would be the right fit for you. I think TCL's heading in the right direction. I think they've got the fundamentals of TCL are obviously strong.
Yeah.
But I look at Xiaomi, and based on a label and how the box packaging is different, literally like a Mi 11 box is just fundamentally different than
You look at this and you
a
know it's a
POCO
POCO
box.
It's a
You
POCO
know.
box. It.
So that's where I
That
really
that
feel
branding
like,
has been. Where is my? Oh, I got the POCO King sitting up there too.
well,
It's
because
up
I've got
in,
my TCL boxes over here, and I feel like it would be difficult to communicate what is the difference between a TCL 20S. I'm sorry, a TCL S. I've been saying 20, but the 20S and a 20 SE. Which one's which for which people? I mean, the boxes are physically different
They're
enough
very
in size
yeah.
that there should be some corresponding size difference between the phones. But beyond that, I mean, they even show you just the back of the phone on one and
And
the
here they
front
show you
and
both.
back of phone. So I guess this is the fancier phone, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to get a sense of what this is. If you were just like, kind of looking down the aisles of a Boost Mobile, which one would I be grabbing here? It becomes a more difficult challenge
They need
to
to do a
express.
better. Yeah, no, I agree. They need to. I think just distinguish them, make the distinguishing factors between each model a little bit more pronounced and easier to identify for the consumers. Because you're right, all three of them look nice, and all of them look very similar in design. It's till you hold it in your hand till you feel like one of them has a plastic bag, the other two have basically glass bags. So you're like, oh, okay, so I see where the material changes a little bit. Maybe you can tell, but visually, when you're looking at them, it's a little bit harder. The experience is also different because you're using different processors. 400 series, if it was the 600 series, you're kind of putting yourself into that bracket. So hopefully, with the next generation of TCL devices, that they're able to drive that message a little bit harder, so that people it becomes, like you said, easier for them to pick. I still think the 20 Pro or the Pro series is still some of their best options that they have, because it doesn't. And I'm hoping they stick with the under $500 price tag, because that
Oh, I
has
think they
been
will. Yeah.
it's just the perfect combination. It's great
In
design.
fact, not only sticking with under 500, it's an opportunity where I'd love to see TCL maybe use some MediaTek and play with some of those features and pricing and
So
parity.
TCL uses MediaTek a lot on their TV department. So you gotta,
yeah.
yeah. So
Oh,
TCL
MediaTek dominates in there. I mean,
When
like
you think
literally
of a
now,
smart,
this is an opportunity for them to even look at what
oh,
other sort
absolutely.
of
When
phone
you think of a
savings and cost
smart
savings they can
device
do.
in your home,
It's
there's a
probably
really good chance. There's a 90% chance of that is running a MediaTek processor.
it's like the 1989 Batman, the Joker. Chances are you bought him already. MediaTek is just in your home,
It's
watching
already
you sleep right now.
and listening to whenever you call hey, and
Exactly.
they're actually
inescapable.
Amazon uses them quite a bit. I was very much surprised
sure.
a couple of years ago when I went to their tech summit, and they had a display of all of the things that they have, like not everything, but like a collection of things, but literally like all of Amazon's Echo, all of the things like they do.
It's legit.
Peloton bikes, the OnePlus TV used them. What else was there? There was like a few other things in their tablets, and obviously, and so on. MediaTek, like I said, it's a company that is making a name for itself, but it's already there. It's making more people aware of them, but it's like you said, it's already there. You already have it. You just didn't know it was there.
So it was a fun homecoming getting to kind of revisit some TCL, and I do feel like maybe I should try and live up a little bit more. Not like doing a ton more videos, but this is the exact kind of conversation that I think would work for a written piece. Like on my website, just saying like, hey, I'm checking this out. There's something really interesting happening at this price tier, and I think we can kind of revisit this. But I think this is primarily the biggest challenge for most brands. The messaging is, especially coming from a Westerner's perspective in North America, where our market is so heavily dominated by two companies that spend ludicrous amounts of money on marketing. Look at, there's a backlash on Google because you're seeing more Google commercials. So that's a reason to be upset with Google. I feel like the Duo 2, Microsoft has not done a good job really trying to reach
commercial-wise,
the tiny community of people that will be a good fit for the Duo 2. You've got to be real specific about who should rock a Duo 2. This is not a casually recommended product, but for that tiny group, it is amazing. And so then I see like the success of Xiaomi internationally and how Xiaomi is now like eclipsing every other phone manufacturer. And I think in part, they are nailing the regional marketing to make sure people are tuned in to what community they should belong to. And moving forward, Microsoft needs to do better at that. Samsung needs to do better than that. And finally acknowledge that more people are into Galaxy A than Galaxy S, and really, properly get that messaging out there. And when I use these TCLs, the one thing that would make my conversation easier is if we didn't have to start from scratch, just sort of breaking down. This is the company, they make TVs, they've also made phones. They've currently got 4 different phones out and they do these different things, and the right one for you would be somewhere over here. You've got to go through a flow chart. I do not need to go through that same flow chart for my more international flavored videos on Xiaomi. I can abbreviate so much of that conversation and just get to the gadget. I don't need to spell out POCO, because if you're watching my POCO video, I'm pretty confident you know what a POCO is.
Oh,
TCL, I don't have that same ease.
It's a different conversation, but like I said, they're known for their TV, and this is technically their second year as their independent brand, making their own TCL label kind of a thing. So we just need to see, hopefully, that how the I guess the 30 series, since technically that would be the third generation, will be announced, because I think we should be hearing something about that at CES, the way they did it last year. The MediaTek, the silent partner, the opposite
of Intel. Let me tell you, because you've actually worked with MediaTek PR. I have tried. I have contacted. I have showed up at events. I have reached out. MediaTek has never gotten back to me. It is like one of the top companies that I have wanted to try and storytell, like, hey, this is what I think is happening here, and oh, we've got this Velvet, let me show you how they perform, and this is really great. Never have gotten anything from MediaTek. So you talk about a silent
very much a silent part. It is a very interesting approach of how their approach to the U.S. market right now is slowly building up. It's not something that they're not trying to go as hard as, let's say, a Qualcomm approach is to things. So that's one of the other things. They're very small, and overall my experience with them kind of stemmed over from XDA, as working with them over the years with XDA. So that's how I was able to make the relationships go in, kind of thing. But I'm hoping that the conversation keeps going, with the solo career, that, now that I'm no longer, participating or creating content on the XDA side. So for me, I'm hoping that conversation kind of keeps going through. Hopefully we can also open up the channel. So it'll be nice. We'll have to see how that goes, but I'm happy to see what they're doing
well with those conversations. And then it's just like the nerdery of being able to point out, like, I wish I could spend more time with Exynos. I love getting to see what Tensor's doing. I just put up this comment from Vazikos, the MediaTek 1000 AV1 decoding, and you're like, you lose so much nuance if all you do is run an N22 and then say, like, oh, but it doesn't perform as well. If there's a difference, or there's a reason for why we're changing CPU cores, or if we're trying to implement different machine learning algorithms, or if we're trying to make different types of video streaming less resource intensive, which saves you on battery life. That's the real flavor, right? If you just read the spec sheet, check out a Geekbench score, and then complain about the price, you have fundamentally missed what that company is trying to accomplish, and you're not reviewing the company, or you're not reviewing the product, you're reviewing what the product isn't. Mm-hmm. And that's it's a fundamental issue that I think
you're not judging the device, you're just telling everybody what it's not. I'm pointing the conversation into something else. It's like you're using it as a stepping stone to move you into the to feed whatever the narrative.
If Netflix goes AV1, and a majority of Netflix is consumed on mobile now, like they just because did you get the update for Netflix for games?
No.
So you can play these it's not great. They're definitely just dipping their toe in the water of mobile gaming, and it's not game streaming. It's just like, let me download this Balance a Marble game, and you move a board, and it moves the marble up the board. It's like the same kinds of gaming that I had like on my HTCs on Windows Mobile back in the day. But it's a
Reminds
start.
me of the games that my son has on his Go Flip 4. But
But
yeah,
maybe not
yeah,
even that
it can.
sophisticated. Okay,
Oh,
no,
hey.
to be fair, the Stranger Things game is a little bit more sophisticated than that, but not much. So the interesting thing that arose from that, most of my Netflix viewing is on TVs.
Yeah,
I
same thing.
am now like significantly in the minority. So much of Netflix streaming, a majority of it is now being done on some type of mobile device, a phone or a tablet, or even up to a laptop. That is now sort of the core usage of something like Netflix, and being able to kind of contribute and to control that ecosystem.
Hmm.
You open up Steam, you get Steam sales. Oh, right, I opened up Steam because I wanted to play a game. Now Netflix is trying to kind of expand on that. It would be a significant advantage for a core Netflix consumer to know that Netflix's newest, highest quality streaming codec is natively supported in the hardware of your mobile gadget and will now use less battery as a
Yep.
result.
Yep.
That to me is an important part of that conversation. Will that individual care that they score a lower GPU score and so they can't play a graphics intense video game that they never would have played from their phone? Or will they care more that they just got 3 hours of additional Netflix streaming after Netflix updates their app?
Yep.
That to me is now the critical nuance of, are we really fitting the right product to the right
To the right people.
consumer?
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. It's what do you need out of your device, and how does this device fit your needs, not what this device doesn't do for your needs. I feel like it's by comparing it, and I don't mind comparing devices. I don't mind doing comparisons between smartphones. Obviously, there is a narrative that people like to listen to, but judge the phone for what it can do and what it does and how it does it, if it meets your needs. And then if you really, because I always said it, and I think I said it like last weekend or the weekend before, a person that's looking into buying or that's looking to buying a Pixel 6 Pro is not considering the Pixel 6 Pro, the S21 Ultra, the 13 Pro Max, and insert whatever flagship in there. They're not shopping all of those things. They're seriously looking for what they need, and does the 6 or the 6 Pro meet those needs? If you like pixel science when it comes down to image processing and the way Google and Pixel images come out, then 90% of the chance most of the things that the Pixel can do will meet and exceed your expectations. Don't compare it to the 888 and don't compare it to, the A15. Even if the A15 gets a Geekbench of like 20,000 or whatever, guess what? You'll never see an A15 on a Pixel. And you'll never see an, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Right.
the sheer comparison and making it so, well, it's not an A15. That's not what but somebody looking into a Pixel is looking for. They're looking for a phone that does what they want, takes
So,
great, easy pictures. Auto mode is actually the main driving force behind it.
right.
And I think what we have right now is better security, a better flavor, a little bit more material customizations. So the approach to this review, just let the tech speak for itself.
Well,
Just seriously.
I mean, so let's mock debate.
Sure.
I feel, because our first Pixel 6 videos were performance testing based,
Performance.
and
Yeah,
you
exactly.
need to kind of compare and contrast against other devices. I think it's
Absolutely.
fair. I think it's fair to say Google is doing something significantly different with CPU cores,
Hmm.
and that will result in a lower grade of performance versus an 888. What say
Which is
you, TK?
so I say
How do we express those differences while leaning into what the phone is actually capable of?
so from a capability standpoint, it absolutely there's going to be differences between every model. Any car you go into to the lot right now, even from the same dealership, you're going to have different great performances depending on the car you pick up. The question that I'm trying to drive at this point is that we are beyond the average, and I don't like saying the average. Hardware has surpassed the need of the limitations of what we need on the daily activity to enjoy our devices. We have hardware, the performance that we have now is way more powerful. We are beyond. Software is where everything lives in. When you're
Hmm.
buying a Pixel and when you're getting a smartphone, knowing that this device may not perform as well as an 888 may be something that you should care about. But the question is, how does it do what it does on its own? Can you, I mean, does it turn on? Does it have a light behind, does the display turn on? And does it actually,
Does it feel good in the
in the
hand,
hand?
TK?
Absolutely. If there's no sharp edges, I don't know
Viewers
if I
need
want
to
to,
know.
they need to know. Judge it for what it does in that aspect. A Pixel smartphone, once you use a Pixel, especially now with the new direction that Google's going with Pixel and Material U, it's a very different conversation. They're changing the narrative. They're no longer that stock experience that everybody's going with, and may not be the right flavor for everybody. But don't make it sound like the Pixel 6 is hot garbage just because it's not as fast as the 888, or just because Tensor is still needs a few software updates for it to kind of start keeping up. Again, the device is barely 2 weeks old in people's hands. The narrative around it has been colored slightly on both ends. You get the pro or the whatever, people are against it, but it truly needs a little bit more time. You can't make that one judgment on day one and that's it. Live by the rest of the all the videos after this should just basically say, sorry, battery life sucks, this doesn't work. Where I was playing games on it, I was using it for what I would normally use a smartphone to enjoy my content on it. And for me, it performed quite well. 7 hours plus is a very good experience on a smartphone, because there are some other devices
I would
that don't
imagine
even
your
get 7.
use is probably a little more intense than
Screen.
average.
Not only is the screen on, the radios are on. I'm constantly transmitting and receiving, because none of the games, as you know, run locally, with the exception of like Dead Cells. But I'm saying, like, if you're playing Fortnite, if you're playing Call of Duty stuff, there's a lot of back and
Have you
forth.
jumped on Tesla Force?
No, so I downloaded Tesla Force and I started to play it. Thank you for the heads up on that one. I was actually a really good time. I didn't get a chance to play a lot on it yet because I had to jump over on the M4 Pro.
So
But I'm actually,
finally, because did you play Tesla versus Lovecraft?
no, so I didn't install that one. No.
Okay, because I hipped you to Undead Horde, and Undead Horde is top down twin stick, but it's all about unit management, and so this
Exactly.
can cook a phone because you've got all these tiny little undead minion that you've got to control, and there's
Absolutely.
a lot going on. And by comparison, so the developer for these games, that I love this developer, 10 Tons, they make PC, then they port to Switch, and then eventually the last run goes to Android, but they've been abbreviating how long that window is. So like when Undead Horde came out, it was a very brief window before Undead Horde made it to Android. So it didn't
Yeah.
feel like you got a 2-year-old game. It was like half the price of buying it on PC, and it came out relatively quick after the PC version came out. So Tesla versus Lovecraft is more in keeping with their older style of twin stick top-down shooters. And so like Neon Chrome and Tesla versus Lovecraft and Judge, I think was the other one.
Okay.
Really like bullet hell, bullet storm. You're a tiny little figure. Things are swarming at you. You're trying to get these power-ups. You're trying to shoot in all these different directions. They're just beautifully crafted games, but they can be a little simple for replayability. So for Tesla Force, they took the world of Tesla versus Lovecraft, where you are Nikolai Tesla building ridiculous contraptions to fight Lovecraftian demons, and they turned it into a roguelite.
Yep.
So the whole replayability problem is built directly into the core mechanic of the game now. You are going to live, die, repeat, live, die, repeat, live, die, repeat. As you kind of expand your repertoire of weapons and you build up your resources, you can unlock other playable characters. And the graphics have gotten a bit of a polish. The gameplay is faster. It's faster and it's a bit more brutal. It's less forgiving than Tesla versus Lovecraft. I think you would very much enjoy cranking some time on this, because then also your play window is really short. So it's very easy to pick up, die, put the game back down, and have had a satisfying like 15-minute game experience. I can't really say enough nice things about this developer, because they've been making great games. Their commitment to also supporting mobile has been really encouraging. I really love it when, like Dead Cells, you get a great version of the game that makes it to your phone.
Yeah, no. For me, the gaming experience on a Pixel has been comparable to some of the other devices. Like I said, I mean, I always strive to try to get the best performance. Like I love the
Yeah.
fact that the Xperia One Mark III can play Call of Duty at 120. But you know what? I expect that device to do that. There's a collaboration there. We also have a
Yeah.
4K 120. There's a different flavor for it. But
And it's also just kind of showing off the respect of what our phones are really capable of if we can get good software.
if we can,
Because
and
I would
it's this.
say, like, a 10 tons game actually runs better on a phone than it does on a Switch, and a Switch is dedicated
It's a
to the
dedicated
act of
gaming.
gaming.
Yep.
But if I play Tesla versus Lovecraft or Tesla Force on my Pixel 6, which we know is not as powerful as some of the beastly 888s, I'm
It
getting
could
like
it could
mid
barely boot up.
50s. I mean, I mean, it's basically just a paperweight.
Yeah,
But I get mid 50s frame rate, right? That
that's not
is
bad.
above what I would get on a Switch to play the same game on a less quality screen. So those types of like, thresholds, like that to
Mhm.
me is an important benchmark to reach. Can I play Undead Horde close to 60 frames per second? Because I can't do that on a Switch, and I
Consistently,
can't
I
do
say yeah,
that on
around
a lot of
62.
other phones.
Yeah.
It's kind of a big deal for me.
Mobile gaming for me is at the same level as mobile consumption because I do like to watch content on my devices. Like when I'm taking my son to karate, swimming, and stuff, I have some time to kill, so I'm sitting there, either watching content or so on. So for me, a smartphone to be able to do what I needed to, at the time that I needed is the biggest concern. This is why when we measure an M4 Pro from POCO or we measure a TCL 20 Pro or other devices, the experience is like I said, right now it's really driven by software. It's not the hardware. The hardware can do so much more than what we're doing right now that it is seriously on the developer side.
To
Getting
really get
120
that
hertz,
power.
yeah,
Yeah.
getting 120 hertz on Call of Duty Mobile is not limited by the hardware. It's a collaboration between, just don't
I
get me
love that
wrong.
you bring that up because it does feel like one of the most cynical.
No,
Like,
I mean, don't. It's been going on for
COD
some time. I feel
Mobile
like
will turn
we
on
need
your phone if
like
we feel like it. Have
and
they
this
encouraged
this
us
is
to turn
Fortnite all
on?
over again. Yeah, this is absolutely Fortnite all over. I remember OnePlus's relationship with them. They got the first 60 frames per second game, and I was like, okay, great, get it to more
Cool.
devices. 90 hertz is the best you can hope for on anything else, even on a gaming phone. This is the weird thing. Even on gaming phones that are gaming centric, 90
So
hertz on that.
funny.
But again, what I see there is truly like when you talk about the developers, for Undead Horde and so on, or Tesla versus Lovecraft, or even Tesla, Tesla Wars. You need to appreciate when developers are putting in the time to bring in to port these games and to give you those experiences. Mobile is the next step for everything. Devices are large enough now that you can literally, like, you don't really even need a tablet, where some of our devices are inching up to 7 inches on the display
Yep.
size. 5,000 milliampere is almost like a standard now. You go around literally. I think that's a great movement. But it's something that I think we should need to. You need to try. You need to appreciate. And like I said, as time goes on, things do get better. The Pixel 6 conversation is going to change as time goes on. Google is
Hmm.
known for bringing in new features, optimizing and making things work way better for you as time goes on. This is something that I know it's hard. I think you mentioned it. Buying something for what it can do now or what it can do in the future. It's a little bit of both when it comes to that. Very rare that I get a yeah, Matt Tyler.
Everyone
I
say,
know
"Hey, Matt
usually
Tyler."
we're very early. Well, yeah, it's Friday. But I will say this: I wanted to kind of touch base a little bit. You did mention gaming, mobile gaming. You mentioned the Switch, but we didn't talk about Steam Deck and what going on this week.
Oh,
That
why you
was
gotta
the
break
other.
my heart?
I'm not trying to. I'm not. It was a big
I
news in
mean,
the
I
week.
didn't realize this would be Crush One Soul.
Is that a new game?
Part of the podcast. Is this like the new? I'm so sad. I really
No,
am. That one.
I felt for you in the same boat because, like I said, that makes it even worse for me if I'm even trying to put in an order myself.
Well, and I got my everyone who's been following my podcast, I was on a road trip when Steam Deck went in pre-sale,
Yeah.
and Steam's. I mean, again, I appreciate that Valve tried to make this aggressively locked down, so you couldn't just put in a pre-order for a Steam Deck. You had to have an account that had bought things in the past and had a certain amount of time behind it. Like you had to have like a verified account to put in a pre-order. And I did, and their servers were melting so hard when pre-orders went live, they just booted me. So I wasn't able to get a pre-order in until later that afternoon, and that put me so far behind in the queue that I probably wasn't gonna get a Steam Deck on their original launch window until 2022 anyway.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to be out in time for kind of the holiday season. I
It
was
was
really
yeah, it was
hoping,
they were
fingers
supposed to
crossed, it
start
would make
sending it
then.
out in another few weeks, December.
So we just got the email that they're going to be bumping the initial batch is going to start shipping out in February. And so now they can't even tell me. They're just saying like into
Pending.
Q2 2022, which is like April at the earliest.
Yeah.
So I'm even more like, like, oh, I was willing to kind of, wait out the holidays. We know there's some slow time. I'll probably get it January, February, then we can jump in. And I want to host more of that content over on Twitch. I want to talk
Yeah.
about games and actually
Stream
share some
straight
of my
from it on
gaming.
Twitch. Yeah.
Exactly. And now it's like I'm also going to be even 2 months further removed from that. Is just like it's hurting my soul. I've got this little pocket of gadget budget that's just sitting there ready for this Steam Deck to sell. And it was the high and low too, because you get the email. I only saw something about your Steam Deck reservation in the subject line. I was like, are they getting ahead of schedule? Is it coming? Am I going to be able to give them my money now? And instead, it's like, oh no, by the way, we're going to bump you even further back. And you're like, oh God, that just gutted me because I got all excited.
Clickbait by an email to make you read the.
It killed me. I mean, I can't tell you like the immediate high and low, the roller coaster ride of emotions surrounding the Steam Deck. But I'm real sad about that. I put out a poll on Twitter, even asking like, should I cancel my pre-order? Should I, I wanted something mobile. I've been reluctant to buy into Nintendo's ecosystem for the way that they sort of catalog their old games and they make you rebuy old games.
No, seriously, yeah, like you own the game, you have but no, you have to download and you buy it as a digital download, which is a different
versus my Steam library, which is ridiculously full of games that I've never played that will just play on almost anything that I can hook up my Steam account to. I put out the poll and I put in like a joke, like a wacky poll option, and or maybe I should just invest more time into game streaming from my phones on something like GeForce Now. And overwhelmingly, people said I should stick with the pre-order, just stay in line, wait for it to come. It's the thing I'm looking at. There are these experiences that I want to share with Lex. She's not super into using a controller, but she's starting to play more with like my Super Nintendo Mini, and on our PlayStation we'll play some Street Fighter or some Tetris. And I felt like this would be a good way to introduce her to some of these other styles of gaming in a way that she can sit on the couch and comfortably hold it, and it should be a good fit for how she might want to interact with it. And to me, this would be a good pathway. I'd have good control over it, what we can install on it. I'd be able to keep her from buying a whole bunch of stuff without us paying attention.
Further increasing the size of your library with more kid-related games.
And then also the fingers crossed, like at some point it would be cool if, this style of mobile PC gaming can take off and I can incorporate my Epic library, or I can log in with my other
it would be amazing
various other store accounts.
If they open it up and allow you to get Epic to install and some of the other game library applications, because it's a dedicated gaming unit. It's not intended to try to be a desktop PC. It's not going to have backgrounds. You're not going to have Microsoft services running in the background or Norton running. There's a whole bunch of things that this speaks to specifically, like you said, for mobile gaming. This is truly what you want. You want a dedicated PC that runs these type games, and it's a decent display, great haptics, controls on there. So it definitely.
Well, I think it is until we can use one.
No. What I'm saying is what they're proposing is the approach. That's the proposed experience.
Well, and
is it
what
you're going to get in the box? Yeah.
I hope this is an idea that's cloned. I want to see Dell make an Alienware. I want to see HP make something. I want to see, because right now there are a couple versions of this idea that have been out in very boutique-y ways, and I'd love for Valve to start. So Steam Deck is not and should not be the end of this conversation. I want to see more. And again, I think this also helps, like if you're into mobile phone gaming like I am, I can't tell you how many people I've turned on to the idea of grabbing a SteelSeries or trying to hook up another controller because Castlevania plays really great on your phone.
Oh yeah.
Dandara plays really great on your phone. Battle Chasers chugs real bad on the map sections, but the combat works really well on your phone. I mean, there are all these experiences that we could be consuming in other ways. And I'm hoping that this just broadens the conversation for that and gets a few more companies interested in it, because sort of the console wars, the streaming, the game streaming wars. We just got another announcement that Sony's going to be off their manufacturing of the PlayStation 5 by over 1 million units getting into the holiday season.
That's
It's going to be even more difficult to get a PS5. I'm not going to be able to get my Steam
just when it
Deck
was
at the end
starting
of
to
the
get
year.
a little bit better, because he was starting to show up
And
more,
they're cutting, and they're cutting it hard. So the solution could be, maybe you sign up for Game Pass. Maybe you sign up for GeForce Now if you can
I was about to talk
handle
about
some of that bandwidth.
especially
could-
with the new 3080 RTX
That
plan
tier.
that they're, yeah, oh my God. Not having to buy a 3080 and having that level of experience gaming on cloud-based gaming is going to be crazy nice. Like if we could only do that type of experience on to be able to power our rendering, like install the software locally, but run the actual render server base where you're running a lot of the horsepower. If you have the bandwidth for it, that would be, I can see some revolutionary experiences change there, not having to worry about it. I would love to. The
Well,
cog library
so
on my
Aditya
Steam
was
Deck.
like, we're gonna welcome Lex to the Halo Reach community. Okay, so she's in that very early, like, learning to use a controller phase, which is just adorable. As she's like
I
swinging
think you
her
need to put a
arms
mouse
to
and
try and
keyboard in her hand right
steer.
now, man. Get the accessories right. I know you love controllers, man. Mouse and keyboard all the way. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, so the reason, okay, but there's a reason. So
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I've kind of gravitated more towards controllers is because I haven't wanted to carry something like a Switch when I'm out and about. I have a phone, and I can just throw like my Steel series into my backpack or into my
Yeah.
bag, and that's a little bit less to walk around with than a phone and a Switch. Especially the way that I'd want to like take care of a Switch, and the way that I just don't care that my controller's out naked in a backpack, right? Like, I don't want the whole accoutrement of packing a Switch. So as I've gotten older, I have gotten worse and worse with modern first-person shooters, causing almost immediate motion sickness. When I was young, I could jam on like classic first-person shooters all the way through like the Half-Life series. But the only thing that would mess me up in Half-Life, especially like Half-Life 2 and all of the episodes, vehicle sections would make me
Okay.
want to Rolf, like almost immediately. In Half-Life 2, you get on that hover boat thing and you're going through the canals. I can't play that section of the game. I just can't. But then getting into more modern, crispy, fluid, high frame rate first-person shooters today, I get maybe 5 minutes of playtime and I can feel that hot spit in my mouth from, oh, I think I'm about to throw up. This sucks.
Okay.
And I know it's probably like a situation with the ergonomics or having the right monitor or being the distance or tweaking the settings, and I just can't. And so increasingly, I've been getting more into arcadey styles of games and top-down shooters and role-playing games and like playing Battle Chasers. I'm not the biggest fan of JRPGs, but it's a gaming experience that I can jam for hours
Yeah.
and not feel like I'm about to lose my lunch.
It's
So I've started to
first-person
appreciate
shooters,
it.
I'll say this much: like at the beginning of the day when I wake up in the morning and I try to play, the first couple of matches take me a few minutes to wait. It's almost like the brain has to wake up to a frequency. But no, you're right. It has to do a lot with the what you're comfortable with and what you are enjoying as a game. Like I can play Call of Duty for like a few hours. I mean, and I try to jump in with Matt as much as possible, but yeah, he plays it on a TV. I tried playing Call of Duty with a controller on a PlayStation. I cannot do that. I like, for me, I was having a little bit of a reverse experience because I'm used to playing it at 120 frames per second, and then jumping down to 60 frames per second because that's what my TV could do was a very
Oh,
jarring experience.
TK, let them eat cake.
no,
Oh,
no, no.
that I would suffer at 60 frames per second.
It's not a suffering. It's what I was trying to empathize with is the motion sickness.
Oh, for
I
sure.
started
Yeah,
to feel that because I was so used to one experience over the other.
that
There
makes
was that
sense.
one time when I was having a motherboard problem. I don't know if you remember, my PC was down for at least a couple of weeks. I had to kind of send it back. MSI a whole time or Gigabyte going on. And I could not spend 2 weeks without playing some VA. I wanted to absolutely controllers. No, don't get me wrong. The Steel series and just mobile gaming has so many options, and I think that's the biggest benefit here. Is whatever you like, you will find the right way to play it. I personally prefer the controller that goes on the sides of the phone, although I realized that it does block certain ports.
And audio.
And that I was referring specifically to the audio port. The other port doesn't really get
Oh
blocked
no,
because you
but
could,
depending on the phone, it'll block speakers.
some devices, if they're not firing sideways, if you're firing forward, yeah, you do kind of get a little bit of that muffled sound. I love where we are, and I can't wait to see what Steam Deck does for us and what it actually could, like you said, hopefully bring the future of mobile gaming. It could be a big thing, as long as they keep, they double down and they keep moving forward with it. I think Steam is the right company to do it with the massive library that they have,
Well,
and if they're able to
I
open
think
it up,
Steam is the right company to start it. And now Steam,
yeah.
I think, also needs to get in gear on what their strategies are going to be. Like, I think it's shocking that Steam has not come up with a GeForce Now competitor. I would pay Steam 10, maybe even $15 a month if I had access to my Steam library. And I know there are some complicated licensing issues.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
make
I
it
was
sound
gonna.
like it's so easy, but that to me would be a beautiful value add for my Steam account where I would be able to access all of that. I'd be even more encouraged to spend money in the Steam store, own the game, and then lease time
Because you
to play it
can't
anywhere I
play
want.
your Steam library on a GeForce Now type of an experience right now. So it isn't, yeah, but it's not part of. We'll have, yeah, you're right. We need to see more. Steam's approach has been mostly about connecting and making things work as a Steam link, more so than trying to leverage, like, allowing you to play Steam games from your PC over your network, as opposed to trying to give you access to cloud based. Because I think that's a much bigger approach, and servers and so on. I remember all of the concerns that GeForce was dealing with at the beginning. Same here. Cannot play many first-person games due to motion sickness. However, was able to play and enjoy Cyberpunk 27. So Cyberpunk 2077 has that nice little bit it depends on how you play it. You could play it very fast, or you could take your time, enjoy the universe, the ecosystem. Oh, Suction Cup. That's a nice one. I haven't seen one
Yeah,
like that before.
so this is the official Sony mount for
Oh, okay.
DualShock.
For the DualShock, yeah, and then it
And
connects
it's
to
built
the
to go on a
Xperia,
glass back phone.
because they make
You got to
glass
take
back
the case
phones.
off.
Yeah.
Hey, LaShawn, what's up? Holla at your boy. He said
Dude.
trash.
Oh my God. No, it is definitely very, very nice. It is very. I love the options. Let's just say that I love the options. The other thing I wanted to double check. I know you put out the video for the Oneplus Buds Pro. You finally got a chance to spend some time with your buds.
Yeah.
I'm down to one bud, but we'll keep that conversation for
Yeah, I
later.
feel so bad that you lost one of your buds. I have seen to
at
have
In and
lost
Out of all
both of my
places.
buds.
No. It was
'Cause-
weird. Like I was having lunch with my brother, and I had the buds in my ear because I was finishing up a call. And as opposed to taking them out and put them back in the case, I took out one bud and I put it on the table, or on the in the tray. as
Oh
we
yeah,
were
and then
having
it's
lunch.
gone forever.
And then by the time I remembered that I was missing a bud, I was already home. I would like, okay, where did I put it? Where did I put it? And then my brother's like, didn't you put it on the tray? I'm like, oh crap. And then by the time we went back, because I crazy
It's like
enough
you
thought
threw
it was-
away a retainer.
it's pretty, yeah, that's how, and you can't replace half of the buds. You have to buy a whole set. So it's becoming basically my, oh, and you got the white ones. That's right. Yeah, you did get the white.
So
nice
hard to shoot video. They're like blindingly bright white, and my new main shooting station is on a white desk. So I'm trying to get like the
We need
the
to get you some
exposure right.
gels. Yeah, or get some.
So I shot so much of the video on this terrible creaky stool, just because it's got like that pleather.
Just
black.
to get the contrast. Yeah, so you can get the
Oh.
color to calibrate correctly.
You remember these stools? These stools like hurt your bottom after about
I-
5 minutes
I
of sitting on them.
I was
So
there
that's what I
for,
shot
for an
my
hour and a half
OnePlus
that one
Buds
time.
on.
Dude.
But you go to the end. Have you gone to rewatch that video? Because at the end of it, you can see like how we're shifting
How we're shifting
like the whole time.
Well, no, so
It's
okay,
like
so we
I'm
don't have a
giving
back.
myself
It's
hemorrhoids
sitting,
here.
yeah, yeah, and the way don't worry about it. You know what? I try to remember the good parts of that day, and the fact that we got a chance to hang out and I got a chance to check out the lab. It was, I mean, it was so long since we last hung out at the park prior to that. So
Yeah.
to
No,
me,
that
I
was
would take
that
that.
was good.
It is, and like I said, last night was honestly to kind of top it off a little bit of with everything kind of going on. I'm hopefully going to be able to put out the video today for the Pixel 6 Pro. I want to talk a little bit more about that, so that's going to be my
Yeah.
next video, kind of going on. But having a chance to hang out with you yesterday and kicking it and watching a movie and just having a nice, chill, a little bit of a, hang out with some friends type of a night, was definitely nice. First time at the Chinese,
For sure.
at the TCL, Chinese theater.
I'm glad you finally got to see a movie. TK had
absolutely.
never seen a film in that in the Chinese theater, and that's
and
like a
then to
rite of
find-
passage in Los
just to find out that
Angeles.
my son's been there twice through summer camp back in a couple of years ago, and it's like, so they've watched like Finding Dory and Cars there, and I was like,
Perfect.
what? You've been here like, okay. Well, at least I told him I finally was able to make it, and it was he was excited as well. As you know, he was texting me last night. He's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? How's it going? Did you get a chance to meet him?" And I said, "No, sadly, he didn't get a chance to
They
meet
kept us
Benedict."
far away from the
Yeah,
important
they
people.
knew
It was
Benedict
funny.
and I shared a lot in common that
Yeah.
he just did not know about.
For sure.
But the movie was nice. And like I said, it will be hopefully available in the next few weeks on the 1st of December.
So
today
you've had. I want to get back to
Yeah.
earbuds here. You had the OnePlus Buds.
Yes. I
You
still
got to
use them
use them
every
for a
day.
while before you lost one of them. What has your experience been with OnePlus Audio in the past?
I actually pretty positive. I've been using their neckband solution for quite some time. I actually have my wife on theirs. The last one, I want to say the OnePlus. Oh man, I forget the name of the moniker, but it's the last one that they released that was a neckband style in the ear, because that's the only one that fits hers because of the wing. I have their USB-C buds that I like to use for some. Yeah, exactly.
These guys?
Yeah, and it's been, with the exception of the more budget friendly version, which ended up focusing more on low latency than bass. I actually like the audio profiles that they have. The audio on them is very decent. Range was very good. LHDC was not working for me on OnePlus devices, with the exception of the Nord 2. The 9 Pro
Yeah.
did not have it. I found that to be a little bit of a, like, it was a selling point, and I feel like we should have it by now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but
Because they've been out for a little bit. It's not like I'm coming to the OnePlus
Oh, no.
Buds Pro fresh. Like,
Exactly.
This
And
isn't a launch
so,
review.
and so my hope essentially is that we are going to get it on. This is more on the smartphone side of the house. It's not necessarily on the Buds side of the house, because I think as we saw in your video, just spoilers obviously, but you're able to get you're able to get the higher codec working on other devices. It's just right now OnePlus devices need the
feel-
updates.
And again, I'm going to keep making this joke, and I'm hoping that my relationship with OnePlus PR appreciates all of the love that I'm making this joke in to
they should.
encourage the update. But I feel inadvertently OnePlus has made some of the best sounding earbuds you could buy for a Xiaomi phone, where you do have better support for all of these other advanced audio codecs. Like Xiaomi
Yep.
has done an awesome job with aptX Adaptive, the newest flavor of aptX, LHDC, and LDAC. And it's coming, all of these things are coming to other Android devices, but they're not here yet. And to me, it's funny because like we want to treat a company like it's one person. Like Google is this one guy, and how could he make such a crazy decision on this one product and then still be making these other products? The OnePlus divisions, like there's a group of people under the BBK gadget umbrella that are making audio products, and then those audio products get sent to different manufacturers. And the BBK audio has been solid. The Vivo buds are really good. Those are excellent noise canceling buds, and they support aptX Adaptive.
Yeah, the
OnePlus
Oppo the
buds.
Oppo buds are also amazing.
The Oppo buds are
crazy.
solid. So to me, it's not like, oh well, this is a failing of the buds, because the OnePlus audio team did their job in making beautifully built, well featured, and having novel features. Like there are things on the OnePlus Buds that you will not find on other earbuds. To me now it's that I've got to make fun of the OnePlus phone team to encourage the update that will finally bring us
I
the
think
support so that I can really get
we're
everything
in
out
a
of the
weird
OnePlus Buds that I want.
we're in a weird transitional point right now for OnePlus when it comes down to their software, right? So the biggest thing that I think we're going to probably see is maybe with Android 12, full functioning Android 12 Oxygen OS. I'm hoping the conversation changes. That's the overhaul that's going on. Color OS is becoming the base for OnePlus, and OnePlus is now need to optimize. So we're going to see a big shift in approach into smartphone, into the OS when it comes to OnePlus. So I'm hoping that rolls out with it, where we get the LHDC. I can't speak to it yet because, again, the only time I was able to get it was on a OnePlus that was running the first version of Color OS based Oxygen OS. And that was where OnePlus, the Nord 2 had it. So that's why I'm hoping when we get that update, Android 12 on OnePlus 9, 9 Pro, that's what's going to kick it up. So,
well, and this is also we just front loaded a huge part of our podcast talking about review styles and FUD and do you buy this and expect updates and things like this. The thing that makes me a little anxious, like I'm talking about these earbuds. They've got this feature. LHDC is becoming a higher profile alternative to aptX and to LDAC. And there's something interesting happening, having some additional audio processing competition. I'm an audio nerd. I love having these conversations.
And Aditya appreciates the difference between and jumping over to LDAC
yeah,
for sure.
I mean, again, if you're doing some critical listening and you start to get a feel for these things, I think they contribute and I think they matter. And we're finally getting the hardware to demonstrate that. Like True Wireless started as like earbud convenience for taking phone calls and is now maturing into a platform where different hardware combinations can contribute to different tuning and to different sounds. It's not as robust as cabled headphones, but that's the direction that we're heading, and I'm so happy to see that. It makes me anxious when the messaging from the manufacturer is so specific about updates. OnePlus is not saying, hey, if you have a OnePlus 8 Pro, you're going to be in line for the LHDC update to really use your OnePlus Buds Pro to their full capacity.
Yeah.
They're only saying the only phone that they're listing outright for eligibility is the OnePlus 9 and 9 Pro. And
the 2020, basically 2021 current series, which
and current series premium phones, because I don't believe the 9R is on that list, but please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know.
Or even the 9RT, the latest version that they just released.
And so we're talking about a component of the Bluetooth stack that goes into the larger operating system and OTA that is sent from the manufacturer down to the phone. And to me, reasonably, if a OnePlus 8 Pro is in line to get Color OS, to switch from Oxygen OS and become more OPPO-ified, why would you go out of your way to pull components from your operating system? But the thing is, I can't trust that OnePlus is gonna bring that compatibility to their other phones, because I'm the guy saying, like, what is the claim being made by the manufacturer? And the claim from the manufacturer is OnePlus 9 and 9 Pro. Yeah. So I want to hope, but now I'm being told by the manufacturer that I shouldn't. And that to me is the weirdness. The OnePlus Buds are great. They're brilliant, AirPod Pro competitors. They've got all of these fancy bells and whistles. The ambient
and I love the fact that you have the click options as opposed to touch. It's a
squeeze
more on point.
Instead of jamming the earbud deeper into your ear canal to activate touch. I mean, they're so well considered and so well designed and so well featured and accessorized. I'm like, there's no way for me to not give them a glowing review, except for the fact that currently they're not the best solutions for OnePlus phones, and they're better solutions for some of OnePlus's main competitors. So
it
leaves you feeling like I'm totally stuck in a weird place on these earbuds, and I want to just say, like, right now they're on sale for $99. Do you know how much earbud you're buying at $99, but you don't get the full use of them at $99
Just
if
yet.
you
Yep.
use them with a OnePlus?
Or well, yeah, and you'd have to specifically drive it. No, I'm with you. But in general usage for me, I found them to be one of my better options for phone calls, audio quality. The microphones on them are actually really good.
They're pretty solid.
And then the range. I love the range. The fact that I could just leave my phone on my desk. I'm in a call because I do a lot of conference calls during the day. There's a lot of meetings that I need to be on. So having a reliable pair of buds that work and just do the job, and I'm able to get an easy 3 to 4 hour conversations out of them. It's
Yeah.
easy for me to point to the OnePlus Buds. But for me, I use them with multiple devices. I don't use them just with one. So that's the other thing. You want to be able to enjoy them to the best. And like you said, right now. I can't truly experience that anymore because I only have one bud, and even if I get the higher level codec, that experience is very much a half-sided conversation to the right ear only. So hopefully I'll see. I mean, at $99, they're actually not that bad. I may end up just picking up my own buds just to kind of because
Again,
I need them to work. I
I
like
think
them a lot.
there's solid options at 99. I
Yeah.
think this is the brutal territory. I'm wrapping up an experience with some ear fun. I just finished my Edifier earbud
Yep.
review. There's some other products that are going to be landing very, very shortly. I might have a contest coming up with some one mores
Nice.
starting next week. So the issue isn't like, do we have these good options at $100 from like Pixel Buds A series through all of these other
Or
competing
Ace,
and
yeah,
smaller.
close to the S600s. You're in the ballpark. You're in.
The TCLs are
Yeah.
good, the
Yeah.
Vivos are good, the Oppos are good, the One Mores are good. I mean, like $100 is now the most brutally competitive tier, and so to me, like that makes the tiniest bit of nuance. You wanted to be in the ecosystem. You wanted your OnePlus phone with your OnePlus case and your OnePlus charger, and you want to put this all together. I wouldn't recommend the OnePlus Buds until we know what the timetable is on that update, because there are other LDAC solutions and other aptX adaptive solutions. They're going to
Yeah.
put more information directly into your ear.
The
And that
Liberty
to me
3
is
Pros have
is that
been
last. Oh
have
God,
yeah,
the Liberties are so
just
good.
so they're a little bit more. They're closer to the 200 price point, like a 170 realistically. But I'm sure they'll drop back again around Black Friday and so on. But seriously, like the performance, the bang for the buck experience on those have been so much better. And even if you still own a Liberty 2 Pros, you still got LDAC a year later. Like it's hard for some companies to. I mean, it wasn't even on the spec sheet. Let's just say that LDAC was
Yeah.
never part of the conversation
Well,
for Liberty 2.
that's what happened with Edifier.
Yeah,
So
no.
Edifier, they launched. I mean, now they're back up to 150, but the Neo Buds Pro, dual driver, excellent ANC, a pretty decent ambient mode. Their app is a little techy. Like I don't love the flowchart of how their companion app works, but LHDC on the side of the box, a month later, they're like, oh yeah, we promised that we'd get LDAC out, and here it is. And so now you've got this other thing. So like I would maybe want to pair my Edifiers with my OnePlus 9
Plus. Yep.
instead of my OnePlus Buds Pro. And like right now, there's so much money to be made in these types of audio solutions, earbuds, headphones. These are the value add accessories for manufacturers. This is where our margin on phones is so low. We're going to encourage you to buy some earbuds at the time of purchase too. And this is how we kind of make some more money on the total package of purchases.
And
But $100
was
is
giving
now.
out. Yeah, but Google was giving out Pixel Buds A series earbuds to Pixel 6 Pro purchasing people.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were handing. They knew that if they got you
Just here
to
to
use
them.
Yeah, well, because you realize this, like if they get them in your hands at the time, if let's say you're a new user to Pixel, right, new user to Google products, having those buds with you at the time of purchase could potentially get you used to their ecosystem a little bit more. It's a smart move,
even
a
faster,
PR mode.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
I totally that is the right way to do it. It was just I was a surprise. It was a surprise for me a little bit that like it wasn't very well advertised because some people did not know. They still went back and sent emails to people that put in the orders and say, "Oh, by the way, you ordered it, but you can get these pair of buds for free." They're still honoring that, so it's a very 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 nice. And Oh, Ibrahim say 2022 is gonna be exciting and interesting when it comes down to wireless audio and with all the new audio technologies. Qualcomm sound. Also, I'm looking forward to seeing some of the new improvements there. But short of having a Qualcomm smartphone or like having an insider phone with the right buds, I think everything else on the market right now around the 100 to 170 is
Hmm.
very much in the right ballpark, and it's almost hard to go wrong. But you really kind
Yeah.
of you just like I said, just have to watch some
I'm trying
reviews
to
and hopefully
remember.
get
I
the
know,
updates.
uh, what is it? I know Xiaomi. I
Hmm.
think there's another manufacturer that supports aptX adaptive, and now I can't remember. But
So the Xiaomi was
the
one of the other ones, and I know Pixel does.
well, yeah, but I mean, I thought, or maybe I was just maybe it was Vivo. I'd need to look it up.
Yeah,
I
no, no.
can't remember. My brain is Swiss
But
cheese.
it's
But
also
again,
about it's also on the
the
buds. It's
one
not just the
more color
yeah.
buds have aptX adaptive. The Vivo buds have aptX adaptive, and I think that's it for my current collection. But we're probably going to be seeing that really take off next year.
Absolutely, and I'm imagining more and more companies. I mean, CES is going to be the showcase for everything. We're going to hopefully, we'll see how CES actually also goes this year because it's going to somewhat half digital, half in person. So it's going to
Hmm.
be a little bit of an interesting approach. But so with that being said, I think this week it's been busy, still a little
It's
bit
been
busy
a
for
good
me.
week.
Kind of go through. We're starting to ever so slowly inch up to holidays here in the U.S. We have obviously a big holiday, Thanksgiving, at the end of this month, and then we also have Christmas and New Year's that comes up next year. Sorry, Christmas and then New Year's. With more things coming up. So I know there's going to be probably a lot of more content coming up about holidays and stuff. Black Friday, I'm not really looking too much forward to it. I don't know why. I don't feel like there's much that's going to be. I mean, at least for me, there's going to be a lot of sales, but I think I'm not going to be maybe buying as much. It's just because my wife was like, what are you looking? And not. I said I'm okay. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, not to say like, oh, well, we should support all of these like boycotts on Black Friday. There's like a whole trend that's happening on Reddit right now. I just feel for a lot of the gifts that Marie and I are looking to try and send to family and friends, we're just crawling out of a global pandemic. So
Mhm.
many of my family members are now getting boosters and they're double vaxxed, and we kind of want to send out more experiences. Like it's not as exciting from the opening the package perspective, but like finding a local cafe and giving them a gift card, so that they go out and do something or they go out and experience something.
Absolutely.
We're trying to do some more stuff like that, and so
Yeah.
I think it's the right kind of the right vibe for people. And Aditya Nil is absolutely correct. Die Hard watch party for Christmas, yippee ki yay!
Yeah. I
Because
knew that
Die Hard
conversation
is
was going to come up. It's
absolutely
literally
the best Christmas film ever made. I am
okay.
not saying that ironically, and I am
No, no,
not
no.
saying that just to because it
We
is
we we we
objectively
we all
true.
saw we all saw the show. We know. We
It's
know the conversation.
it's a
It,
husband
it
and a wife, a man's regret, the remembrance of times past, all set to the backdrop of a wacky bank heist terrorist situation. There is no better collection
better.
of themes to present for a Christmas film, so it's got to be Die Hard.
We got to do the party. We got to do the Die Hard party for sure. But yeah, what I was trying to say is, you may see us at different locations and different things. We're going to try to keep the show going, of course, on somewhat of a regular schedule. This week is a little bit different, mostly because of last night's, epic movie going experience after 2 years of not going. It's like it can only be epic when you don't do something for 2 years and suddenly you try it again. Yeah, for sure. I want to say, do you have any other videos, or do you have any other content coming out
So
this week?
the biggie is I finally put out a closer examination of the Xperia Pro I.
Mm-hmm.
That's on the Patreon right
The vision.
now, patreon.com/thegadgetguy. It's a 30-minute video just talking about the main sensor. I mean, it's really the most exciting aspect of what's going into that new Xperia, and then also there's a lot of digging into photography philosophy because Sony is making some very specific choices about how this product should be used. And again, it's not to say like, whoa, it's not worth it because Pixel. Um, Again, it is purpose built for a smaller community of potential consumers. I
Hmm.
feel it needs to be judged by that.
Yep.
But there are some things that I kind of wish Sony would lighten up or kind of soften up around the edges just a little bit. So it's 30 minutes of getting in, looking at exposure, because I think there are some issues with our engineering samples,
Hmm.
those early prototype
Oh, and they are.
demo
Yeah,
devices that we
we need to
had.
keep in mind. Yeah, exactly.
But then also, there are some things that I think are just going to be a part of the Sony experience that I hope will be polished up over time.
Hmm.
Depth of field, the differences in what that aperture delivers, having a two-stage aperture, some of the new video features. I try even with 30 minutes of talking, I don't think I could call it a review, but
Hmm.
it is a much closer examination of some of that performance, and it kind of fits the flow of some of my previous, monster camera deep dives.
Love it. Yeah. No. And then hopefully for me, by the end of the day, hopefully it'll be Saturday morning for most people that are going to see it. I'm hopefully pushing out both an Arabic and an English video for the Pixel 6 Pro after 2 weeks. I'm not going to call it a review, but it's living with the Pixel 6 Pro for 2 weeks is, I think, probably a better
Yeah.
title for it. Yeah, it's like living with it, because that's what it is. It's a device that you live with. It's part of your day, morning, evening, and then some. A lot of people, yeah, I actually got a lot of comments, a lot of talking about, the Xperia Pro camera. A lot of people were like, now I wish I didn't buy the Xperia 1 Mark III. I wanted the Xperia Pro. I'm like, they're still, they offer slightly different experiences. They're not geared to be the same. And there is a bump in price, but yeah, I'm looking forward to
Well,
checking out that video. It's a,
yes,
it's,
that's fair.
it's a
That's
camera
fine.
bump. Yeah. No, no pun intended, but that's for the most part with me for me, and then of course hopefully Saturday morning with tech tomorrow, and then we're going to wrap up this week. I do have some content coming up more on microphones. I have these Pixel microphones, the Pixel Lark, Vocal Lark.
Oh,
Uh,
nice. I've been wanting to
it's
play with those. I'll be curious what you have
so
to say about them.
it's a solution that has a casing that charges them, which is a much better improvement. Plus, we still have two microphones, so you're always 100% battery charged. You go to a shoot, you go into an event, you want to interview somebody, pop them up, use them. When you're done, put them back in the
That's
case,
handy.
and they get charged. So I'm
And
really
that
happy
coming
with
out next
these.
week?
Yeah, so that's going to be most of the focus next week. I know it's going to seem more like catching up type of experience, but
We have so
it's a
much
lot
to
of
catch up on.
it's a lot of exciting things to talk about. Audio for me is a big component of what we do and everything we do. And so for me, it's always an experience trying different microphones, different setups. And then hopefully, we'll get a chance to, do another week. We'll see how things go, and maybe things will start slowing down a little bit. We'll see. I don't know. As I know it's at
I
Techtober, but it seems like,
I
going into
feel we're
November.
going to be running all the way through November. I feel
I
like
I
it's
feel
just
like it's
on
yeah.
like Donkey Kong. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. So, with that being said, I want to say thank you very much to everybody for hanging out with us on this special time and date of the best of our week. We love having you guys, and again, thank you very much for the support. Last night was great. Juan and I got a chance to hang out a little bit and enjoy some nice new movie by Benedict Cumberbatch and Kirsten Dunst. Every time I say Kirsten Dunst, I keep thinking of Deadpool. I'm sorry, and just from my
it's
it's that conversation between Deadpool and Dupinder. They're talking about young Kirsten Dunst, and we were
oh
having that
no.
conversation because we saw Once Upon a Deadpool, and then of course she's in the movie, and like yay. So yeah,
You nerd. I love it.
I hope you guys have a great week. Juan, I hope you have a great rest of the week.
You
Hang
as
out with the
well.
family, and then we'll see you guys next week for another episode of Best of Our Week. Make sure to catch the SGGQA on Monday, and then I'll see you guys on Saturday for the best of our Saturday morning with tech. Take care, everybody. Bye bye for now.